Well, hello guys, welcome back. I want to talk to you about, having compassion for ourselves. We currently live in a society, and Loki was jabbing at me to make this video, so forgive the rift here. We currently live in a society that our current hobby is finding out stuff people said or did decades ago and nailing them to the wall. Now, I'm not talking about uncovering crimes that they should have been punished for. That's something different entirely. I'm talking about stupid things they said and did that we might find racist or homophobic or misogynist or yes, we think they're horrible people, but they did these things over a quarter of a century or more ago, but our current mind think as a species seems to be, well, you didn't get punished back then, so you're going to get punished now. And that is a very human reaction. It is. Well, you've been getting away with it for 25 years, but now we're going to nail you to the wall, buddy. And the problem is, as Loki's pointed out, all humans are a can of worms, and if we could all be opened up and everyone could see what was inside us, we would all run screaming in absolute terror and horror and disgust from every human we know, because we've all done something that would horrify everybody that knows us. It's just the human condition. And one of the things you have to do if you're like working on self-help or anything is to recognize that. To recognize we've all done horrible things in our lives. We've all done things we're not proud of, and we've all done things we don't want anybody to find out about. And I'm not talking about those bodies in my basement. But you know what I mean. Things that were like, how could I have ever done that? Maybe you did something once and I don't know what you did, but it's nothing you would probably go to jail for. It's nothing that, if you were a Christian, you'd be going to hell for, but you feel guilty, right? You feel horrible. How could you do that thing? You did it because you were human. You did it because, for whatever reason at the time, that seemed like the path to go with. Whether you thought it was the right action or the wrong action, good or bad action, you did it. You can't undo it. That's why there's this thing in the Bible about being careful about your words, because once you have said them, they are out there forever. And if you've ever fought with a woman, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because she remembers this thing you said 700 years ago on this day that was raining and she was wearing one shoe and holding the other, and she remembers. And she will drag that out and she will fight you with it. And you'll be like, what the hell? When did I say that? I never said that. She'll remember. She will. And all the women are laughing because we all know we do it, right? You remember something somebody said 25 years ago and you've just been waiting and you're waiting and you're going to use it on them and you are waiting and you're going to know with it, right? Well, we tend to do that to ourselves as well. We tend to collect every bad thing we've ever done in our own estimation, or even worse, in other people's estimation, because we can never change that. If I looked at my life through the lens of, say, the Catholic Church, even though I'm now a pagan, oh man, would I be crying. If I looked at it through the lens of my friends, I would also be crying. I have to look at it through my own lens and see, as a Lokean, as a pagan, do I think, the actions I take now are right and wrong? And do I think actions I've taken in the past are right or wrong? And I have to admit that no matter what lens I look through my life at, I've done things in my past that I'm not entirely proud of, but we all have. And the thing is, we have to let it go at some point. It does not mean, by the way, we're celebrating our shortcomings. Letting go of stuff is not the same as not being sorry and not having regretted it. It doesn't mean that we're going to go out and commit the same actions again. It does mean that if we would be willing to forgive someone else, then we have to be willing to forgive ourselves. If you would forgive someone else, if you heard them telling you the same story and you would hug them and pat them and say, it's okay, I've been in the same exact place, you have to be willing to do that for yourself. And it's hard, right? We're like the last people that we forgive ourselves for, as Loki said. I don't know if I said in this recording. You humans have the compassion of the Buddha for everyone else but yourselves. I don't understand you as a species. it's easy to forgive other people, right? Because we don't want them to carry around pain and hurt and regret because we know what that's like. But to forgive ourselves, never, because we hold ourselves up to these impossible standards that we would never apply to anyone else. Like you guys know, to this day, I still regret having to adopt out cats because I was a priestess of Bastet, and how could I do this horrible thing? Well, because sometimes life sucks. That's why. Because the money wasn't there. Because I wasn't emotionally, in any shape or form, able to take care of myself, let alone for living, thinking creatures, and so forth and so on. I did the actual best and most noble thing in that context, but it still sucked. It still sucked a lot. It still sucks. But it was what it was. Sometimes we have to make these horrible, sucky decisions in our life, and they are not fun, and they are not easy. That's part of the human condition. Unless you've really nailed manifesting and you can manifest your problems away, like you can always have the money, or you can always have the whatever, then you're going to run into times in your life when it's really going to suck, and you're really going to have to make those hard decisions. And part of the reason that Freya was attacking Bastet was because she knew I'd never quite forgiven myself for that period in my life. And Freya's been alternately yelling at me that, I didn't take them into the woods and kitties didn't disappear and I didn't put them in a gunny sack and throw them in the river. She said, you did the best possible things for these cats. You don't have this godlike mind that you could know what kind of people you were giving them to or not. I never heard anything on any of these cats. But she says, you can't do that. And she says, I know you were absolutely devastated and you were pissed off and angry because, at the time I'm having all these faith struggles too. And I'm like, why didn't a miracle happen? And why didn't like a lottery win come? Because I was praying and praying and praying, guys. And I'm like, why didn't a lottery win come? Why didn't one of my relatives have a change of heart and reach out to me? And well, they're not really my relatives, thank the gods. Why didn't any of this stuff happen? Because it didn't. Because it didn't. I'm lucky it was cats. Had it been children, I'd probably be in an insane asylum. I'm lucky it was cats. You know what I mean? I'm an animal lover through and through, but I'm lucky it was just cats. Had it been children, oh my god. And I was just insane with grief and pissed off at the universe that everything hadn't opened up to let me take care of these poor animals. And these animals were feral, so they had never bonded to me, so I felt like they were in misery with me or misery without me, and it was never going to be a happy solution no matter what happened. And sometimes you might run into something like that in your life, and maybe you feel your thing is 15,000 times more serious, and how could I be so caught up on cats? Are you kidding? I was raised Catholic. I have guilt about fish that didn't turn out well, and I'm not like trivializing the life of any animal, but I have guilt about fish that didn't turn out well, let alone anything else. I got upset about plants when I was a gardener. We're good at guilt. Loki may never be able to deprogram me from that, but you don't have to have grown up Catholic. We're all good at guilt. We're all good at feeling bad when things don't turn out the way we think they should. And Loki and all the other gods and goddesses would have us actually let go of that guilt, because guilt doesn't serve anything. Guilt makes you feel bad, and guilt really doesn't teach you any lesson. You can feel sorry that you did it or did not do an action. And maybe it was out of your control, maybe it wasn't, but you have to eventually come to peace with your past. And come to peace with the fact that, we're all this horrible can of worms. And that's just the human condition. We've all done terrible things. We've all done heroic things as well. And that's a thing not to, forget. We've all done great things. But in, our pagan mindset, the gods aren't keeping this book of here's all the good things you did, here's all the bad things you did. They're not doing that, especially not the Norse gods. They're not, there's no angel up there. There's this little bit of rabbinical lore that you get a good angel that records all the good stuff, and you get the angel that records all the bad stuff, and then they weigh the two books. No, that's not what's going to happen. They're going to sort you out however they sort you out, and it's going to have nothing to do with the kind of person you were. Don't become an axe murderer, but, as long as you're doing the best you can, you don't have to worry about it. There's no, like I said, there's no hellfire waiting for you when you die. Um, and we have to kind of remember to forgive ourselves while we're alive here. As I was watching these animal communication videos, I'm like, well, I had tried that for years in my life. It never worked out for me. I love animals. They don't always return the favor. I do. I love animals. I seem to get along better with wild animals than I do domesticated. It's weird, but and maybe, you have things in your life right now that we seem to all go through stuff at the same pace where you're realizing there are these talents you don't have, but everybody seems to have them, so why don't you have them? Especially in pagans. Why aren't we all animal psychics? Why aren't we all astrologers? Well, because we're not all suited to either one. That's why they take a lot of work and a lot of dedication. And you have to have the belief that these things are actually real and not a bunch of nonsense. That's the first part. And so, guys, it's a time, it seems to be, for everybody to work on their past and to just forgive yourself. And again, it doesn't, I don't know if I said this recording or not, it does not mean we throw parties for ourselves. I'm never going to throw the I hated those cats, they sucked party, because I love those cats. And I'm never going to throw a party where I run around the house shouting all the mean things I've ever said to people and going, yes, I'm awesome. No, I'm not going to do that. I realize that, I can be one of the worst people in the world, but I can also do it to myself. And, eventually you have to forgive yourself. And don't worry if people think that you're just letting yourself off the hook, because, we all deserve it. If you're regretting it, you learned a lesson. And that's the best you can do in most cases, is learn the lesson and move on. Don't do it don't do it all over again. If I would be irresponsible enough to go out and adopt 5 strays and go, oh, but I love cats, and yet I couldn't get them to the vet, and I couldn't pay to feed them, and I couldn't pay to, give them their, all the medicines and that they would need, then that would be horrible and irresponsible, and that would mean I never learned anything from the first time we did all these fun things. So, just, if you can, try to avoid being in the same situation again, though sometimes it's impossible. Sometimes the universe is like, ooh, let's see if you want to learn anything. Um, but, and if you can, if you ever get to a place in your life and you feel like sharing with other people will help, you should do so. I wrote an article at one point, and I said the other side of pet adoption, because, usually people that adopt out pets are made to look like villains and these horrible, selfish people that just hate animals and they're all irresponsible. Let's admit it. Everybody likes to kick the person, adopting out the cat or adopting out the child or doing anything else that we're like, no, 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 you're not allowed to. Sometimes life sucks. Sometimes you have to make that hard decision. A lot of times you have to adopt out the pet, or worse still, you had to give up a child. My grandmother was, on my dad's side, was adopted because the parents just couldn't afford to take care of her, but they found her the best home they could. Manifest all you want, they couldn't change the past, so, you have to forgive yourself when life doesn't turn out the way you think it should have because you think you should have done more, or you feel you did the wrong thing. None of us are perfect. We all do bad things. And this isn't about the bodies in my basement, I swear. You guys know I'm teasing, hopefully. But, forgive yourself, guys. Even if there are those bodies in your basement, go, well, okay, there's 8 of them there. There doesn't have to be a 9th one. Unless those are really bad people, then I swear I will take your secret to my grave. But you guys know what I mean. I'm trying to put it in context for you. Just, you have to forgive yourself at some point and come to peace with it. It's not the same as you having saved a life or done a good thing or, done anything great. You know that. Forgive yourself. It's okay. We all screw up. It's why there are erasers on pencils, okay? So it felt timely for one of you, and I know to a lot of people the cat thing will seem trivial, but, for me it was devastating. And for other people, something you're hung up on might seem just as trivial to me, but this is not a contest, guys. And this isn't about how anybody else sees it, it's how you saw it and how it personally affected you. But, please, for the love of the gods, for the love of Loki, forgive yourself at some point. It's not the same as saying you did the greatest thing ever, but just, let it go. put it in the hands of Loki. If you still feel bad, put it in the hands of Loki. If you want to do penance, if you grew up Catholic and you want to do penance, go to the gods and see what they say. But, you know, you have to let it go at some point. If we all keep dragging around everything we did bad and everything we did wrong, and we're never forgiving ourselves, then we can never go on with the rest of our life and try to make amends. If you know you did something wrong, try to spend the rest of your life doing the opposite. You know, that's better than not, you know, not doing anything because we're still lashing ourselves with, you know, oh, how did I do that thing? I was such a horrible person. Or how didn't I do this thing? I was such a horrible person. You know, find a way to make the world a better place. Try to do the opposite. Try to send out some good energy instead of some bad. So if you guys like what you see, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.